What's good, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Mini Football Logic. It's Zeno here, and in today's episode, we're going to be rounding up the action in the Champions League group stages. As we already know, we're complete with match day 6, and we now have the teams that will be in the next round of the competition, the teams that will be in the Europa League, and the teams that are just straight up out and have no more football in Europe to look forward to. First off, over these last 2 days was Group B. So that was the first group to be decided, and Arsenal, PSV, Lens, and Sevilla were in that group. Arsenal went to PSV, and Sevilla went to Lens. Arsenal and PSV held up for 1-0 draw. Let's be honest, PSV and Arsenal already pretty much qualified, and the game was indicative of two sides that were comfortable with their reality regardless of the scoreline. It ended 1-0, Nketiah with a smart finish, Yorba with a Tesson with an even smarter finish. And obviously the Lens Sevilla game, low-key chaos there, but that game ended 2-1 to Lens. They came back from no, they didn't come back from a goal down. Lens took the lead, penalty. And then, Frankowski with the penalty in the second half. And then Sergio Ramos equalised after he had to retake his penalty after Bryce Samba was off his line when he saved the first attempt. Then Ramos had the balls to Panenka him on the retake. He's a mad guy, man. Like, that madness that gets him red cards is the madness that allows him to show such composure from the spot when he has the chance to take these penalties. And then in the 96th minute, Pedroza? Yeah, whatever his name is, I'm not confident, Pedroza, Aja Pedroza. He lost the ball in the 96th minute and they punished him for Gini finished. Done. Lens finished ahead of Sevilla. Sevilla won't even have their customary Europa League spot. Because as we know, Sevilla always love repeating the cycle of once they win the Europa League, finish third in their group, then get back into the Europa League and then win it again. Not this time. Thanks to that loss, Sevilla go straight out and Lens get to play Europa League football. And PSV and Arsenal make it out of Group B. Next up, that same Tuesday, we had Group A. Bayern Munich, Copenhagen, Galatasaray, and Manchester United. Well, as we knew coming into this, Manchester United, the team that we expected to follow Bayern out of that group, were dead last. And they had to win and simply hope that the Copenhagen Galatasaray game ended in a draw. But first, we have to look at the game. They played against Bayern and they didn't win. They lost at home, 1-0. Is it really a surprise? Not really, no. We can't sit down here and act surprised. What was interesting was that Man United didn't concede 3 goals for once. They've been great entertainers throughout this group stages, but they've conceded a lot of goals. More goals than any other team has ever conceded in the group stage of a Champions League team. The most goals conceded by an English team in the group stages of the Champions League. Just beep that. That's how leaky they've been. They conceded 4 to They conceded 4 to they conceded 4 to Copenhagen, didn't they? 4 to Bayern Munich. I think they conceded 3 to Galatasaray. Might have been 4. But look, they conceded a lot of goals. And that's ultimately what cost them in the group stages, just not being able to be closed off in defence. They were wide open. This game, they were a lot more compact, a lot more solid, but did it matter? No. Koeman scored. Beautiful Kane assist. Man United gone out. Too little, too late to put in this level of performance. It's just, too late. In the other game, though, between Galatasaray and Copenhagen obviously did really well to get the draw at the Allianz Arena. They've done really well to get into the position. You can call them probably the surprise package of the Champions League so far. No one expected them to come out of this group in second place. I don't think anyone even expected them to come out in the Europa League spots. They were meant to be the whipping boys of this group, and yet here they are standing tall. They managed to get another win against Galatasaray. Well, not another win against Galatasaray, but they got another win in the group. Lucas Lara with the goal. Obviously, he got sent off later on in the game, which is a bit peak for him. Now he missed the first leg of whoever they play against. But all in all, a fantastic performance of Copenhagen, and they very much deserve to make it to the second round because of the simple fact that they were solid at the back. And Man United can take notes from that. And Galatasaray, well, they have to accept the Europa League, which I think is about acceptable for them. They had a lot of chances to do a bit more than what they did in the group. I'm looking at Akatoglu. Yeah, Akatoglu, the amount of chances that man has missed. He even missed one in the Copenhagen game where he blazed it way over. Yeah, look, I don't know. He needs to definitely improve his finishing when they get down to the Europa League because it just isn't good enough. But, he is creating his chances, and Gaetas created a lot of chances. So, hey, let's see what they do in the Europa League. Now we move on to Group D, which features the Champions League runners-up from last year, Internazionale, Real Sociedad, Benfica, and FC Red Bull Salzburg. Now, this group actually ended up quite tied. Sociedad topped the group with Inter 12 points each, and then Benfica and Red Bull Salzburg 4 points each. Now, Sociedad went to the San Siro and got a 0-0 draw with Inter. To be honest, they've been really solid throughout this group stage campaign and have actually impressed a lot of people. Topping the group is actually what they deserved, but they could have went either way. They only ended up doing it, I think, through goal difference, because I believe the game they played at Anoeta was 1-0. So if it was based on head-to-head, then Inter would have probably got it. But, head-to-head, both games were a draw. Sociedad deserved to top it based on goal difference. As for the other game, it was a lot more chaotic and a lot more interesting. It was a much more fun game to watch. It ended 2-1 to Benfica, 2-1 to Benfica, 3-1 to Benfica. I forgot the last minute back heel from Arthur Cabral. Di Maria and corners, man. Well done for this guy just every time taking the corner and just trying to whip it near post into the goal. It worked. The first goal, literally, it was him scoring directly from a corner. And then Rafa Silva, who should have scored a hat-trick, minimum, with a clinical sharp finish in added time, at half-time. Added time for the first half. And then he proceeded to miss easier chances. But eventually, even though Salzburg did pull one back from Lukas Sucic, a deflected strike, and he then did it again, but this time deflection was from an offside Salzburg player. Arthur Cabral then scored in the 92nd minute and put the game to bed and guaranteed Benfica's place in the Europa League. Now, let's move on to Group C, which featured obviously Real Madrid and Napoli and Union Berlin and Sporting Braga. Now, if you actually look at the table before the round of fixtures completed, Napoli and Real Madrid guaranteed their places. That's not a surprise though, is it? Real Madrid in first and Napoli in second. Real Madrid had the opportunity to win every single game they played in the group stage this season. And of course, they didn't disappoint and they got the job done, beating Union Berlin by 3-2 at the Olympia Stadion. But it wasn't easy. Now, Berlin actually took the lead. But only because Modric missed the penalty. It's the third consecutive one Madrid have missed. And from the next attack for Berlin, Volland then took advantage of an Alaba mistake and scored. But then Real Madrid turned it around with 2 Joselu headers. He's trying to make up amends for the last Champions League game where he missed a whole boatload of chances. And he had to apologise to the fans when he finally got one in. Those 2 headers turned the game round, gave them a 2-1 lead. But then Alex Carl, do you remember him? He played for West Ham. I don't know if you guys remember him. I barely do. He managed to get the ball at the edge of the box and he slotted home a really clean strike, to be honest, into the bottom corner. It just arrowed in there, past Kepa. And then Shabalio scored 4 minutes later. He deflected off a defender. It creeped into the far corner. Pain for Berlin. This is not the first time in the Olympia Stadium that they've suffered pain. The same thing happened in the Braga game, didn't it? It's very tough. Very tough. And because of that result, they finished bottom, and Real Madrid finished top, and they won all 6 games for the record-breaking 3rd time in the history of the Champions League, isn't it? And then, of course, Napoli. They faced Braga, and they managed to win as well. Again, not really much of a surprise. Napoli won 2-0, was comfortable, quite a funny own goal by Serdar Saci. And then Osimhen scored, again deeper into the first half after some good work from Natan, the centre-back, or the left-back. He's normally a centre-back, but I believe he was playing left-back that game. And, what else is there really to say? Napoli and Real Madrid ease through, coast through. We expect big things from these 2 clubs, especially Real Madrid, of course. Obviously, Napoli aren't quite the same force they were last season. But who knows, maybe they can turn it around for this year under, Walter Mazzari's leadership after the whole Rudy Garcia experiment didn't work. But yeah, Napoli and Real Madrid are through. Real Madrid top the group and Braga get Europa League football from Group C. Now, let's move on to Group G, Manchester City's group. Of course, them and RB Leipzig in second place have already assured qualification. Man City assured they will be finishing top, and Leipzig assured they will be finishing below them in the last round. So this game was all about consolidation, seeing which one of either Young Boys or Crvena Zvezda will be in the Europa League places. Well, anyways, talking about Man City's game against Crvena Zvezda, they did put a very weakened side out there. Calvin Phillips was out there, believe it or not, the one that doesn't fit into Guardiola's plans. He was playing, and a young teenager of the name Micah Hamilton played. Now, he's been with Man City since the under-9s. He's been through the system. He was even a ball boy. So he's been really through the system. He's genuinely been through the system. And he scored on his debut with a really nice goal and a really good performance. Like, he was really good. Nonetheless, Man City won. Only 3-2 though. Crvena Zvezda did make it interesting with 2 late goals, but let's be honest, they were going to win, even with this weakened Man City team out there. And so it proved. The Man City topped the group, won all 6 games for the first time ever. What a way to consolidate your credentials as the holders and the defending champions. As for the other game in the group between Young Boys and Leipzig, Leipzig was able to pull off a 2-1 victory, which in turn allowed the Young Boys to actually make it through, because Crvena Zvezda didn't win against City. Even though if I try to remember the permutations, I don't think it would have mattered anyways. Nonetheless, all in all, table is done. Group G is looking like Man City top, Leipzig second, Europa League football for Young Boys, and nothing for Crvena Zvezda. Now, in Group E, Atletico already assured their places in the next round. Lazio, pretty much the same. Feyenoord and Celtic had no chance, and guess what? Atletico played against Lazio and Feyenoord v Celtic, so there was a chance here where there wasn't going to be a lot of, action in these games, and so it really tended to prove. Atletico Madrid managed to comfortably defeat Lazio by 2-0. Goals from Antoine Griezmann, of course, and Samuel Lino. Lazio didn't do anywhere near enough to trouble Atletico Madrid. It was pretty comfortable for them. Let's be real here. In the other game in the group stages, in that group, somehow Celtic finally won a game in the Champions League. I know Brendan Rodgers' boys gotta be gassed with that, thanks to a 91st minute winner from Gustav Lagerbielke. And I don't know if I said his name right, but I hope I was close. Obviously, Yankuba Minte, the winger on loan from Newcastle, scored the equaliser to Lewis Palmer's 33rd minute penalty. But yeah, last minute winner in the 91st minute. Celtic finally win a game in the Champions League. But obviously it doesn't mean nothing. They still finish dead last. Feyenoord get Europa League football. Lazio in second. And of course Atletico Madrid top the group. Now let's talk about Group F. Yeah, the group of death. Newcastle, Milan, PSG, Borussia Dortmund. I just read to you the table from back to front, from bottom to top. Going into this game, the assignment for Newcastle was simple. Win your game, simply win your match, and just hope that PSG either lose or draw. Yeah, and at one stage during the times in which these two games were being played simultaneously, it looked like it was going to plan. Newcastle were winning, PSG were in fact losing. But it all changed within the 10-minute span, as it usually does with these things, and Newcastle found themselves back into third, which isn't too bad. If you think they'll just hold on to the result against Milan and PSG held on to theirs, then that's okay, right? Nope. AC Milan had to break hearts. Samuel Chukwueze curling one in the dying embers of the game. That's that Nigerian magic, really and truly. What can you really do about it? First touch and everything, I believe. And the 2-1 to AC Milan at St. James's Park. So despite a very underwhelming campaign from Milan, they've actually managed to find their way into the Europa League spot ahead of Newcastle, who beat PSG. And that was the only match they've won. And Dortmund on the other side of the spectrum, 2 of their 3 wins came against Newcastle. Those 2 games against Dortmund really cost Newcastle. Win one of those. And qualification's there. It's simply there. Anyways, Dortmund and Paris Saint-Germain played against each other, ended 1-1. PSG wasted a whole host of chances in the first half, the likes of Kolo Muani and Mbappe missing key chances, even though Mbappe's one was just a superb goal and clearance from Sule, to be honest. You can't even deny that. But Adeyemi opened the scoring, and then the young teenage sensation Warren Zaire-Emery equalised another deflected goal. So that ended 1-1. And unfortunately, Newcastle lost 2-1 at home. 3 losses in a row. Might even be more than that. But they've lost the last 3, that's for sure. So the table ended like this. Dortmund at the top, PSG in second, AC Milan in third, and Newcastle in fourth. So it's Europa League football, like I said before, for AC Milan. Champions League qualification for the next round for Dortmund and PSG, with PSG in second, and Dortmund topping the group. Yeah, Dortmund topping the group. Last but not least, we have Group H, Barcelona's group, which also featured Porto, Shakhtar Donetsk, and Royal Antwerp. Now, Barcelona already qualified for the next round in the last round of fixtures, and now they had to make sure they topped the group. They had a game that looked very simple on paper against Royal Antwerp, and they made a whole mess of that. They lost 3-2. Now, the team they put out there was actually pretty simple. They tried to do what Man City did, but it didn't work out. And they actually lost to Antwerp, which is not good. Goals from Arthur Vermeeren, Vincent Janssen, and George. I don't know. I'm not going to say his second name. From George. He scored in the 92nd minute to win the game for Barcelona. Win the game for Antwerp, after Marc Guiu equalised for Barcelona in the 91st minute. It's a bit peak, innit? What can you do? But Barcelona still managed to top the group despite Porto beating Shakhtar Donetsk in an 8-goal thriller. So I guess they're good in that case. For the first time in 2-3 Champions League campaigns, Barcelona finally out of the group stages. So Barcelona top their group. Porto finished behind them in second place. Shakhtar get the third place and Europa League football, and Antwerp at least go home without losing every single one of the games and actually have a win against Barcelona to their name. But they still finished dead last. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the roundup of games. We have the 16 teams that will be going through. We have the 8 teams that will be playing Europa League football and joining the others in that competition. And we have the rest that just weren't good enough to do anything and to make it anywhere. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Mini Football Logic.
Mini Logic.